Stevens Point Historic Preservation Design Review Commission meeting, recorded December 2nd, 2021.
Okay, call the meeting to order on December 2nd. It's 5 o'clock. Mr. Kuhn, you want to take the roll, please?
Siebert?
Here.
McComb is excused. Christensen?
Here.
DeBush? DeBush?
Here.
Scripps is excused. Malepsky?
Here.
And Monk.
Here.
And then both Malepsky and Monk, you will have voting abilities.
Okay.
Okay, number 2, report of the October 20th, 2021 meeting of Historic Preservation Design Review Commission. I would entertain a motion to accept. And a second?
I'll second.
A motion first.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Christensen, is that?
Sure.
Okay, and Mr. Monk second, thank you.
Second, yep.
Discussion? Any comments, criticisms? No? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3, excuse me, a request from Bill Sherrill, representing Guild Designs LLC, for a design review to construct a building addition and perform storefront improvements at 1040 Main Street. I would accept the motion to agree with this.
So moved.
Mr. Christensen, second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. Mr. Sherrill, you want to make a?
Yep, I was just gonna make one quick comment just as far as why this request is being brought before the commission. So both the storefront replacement aspect and additions to any historic structures require the commission's review and approval. So this would be the this would be the requirement for this meeting tonight. So I'll actually kick it off then to the applicant to provide some background info. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. That primarily, I'll
Bill,
give
could you give your name, please?
Oh, sure. Bill Sherrill, 109 County Road East South, Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
And how we got involved with this project was we've been using Ideal Frame for many years, and the owners at one point had said that they were interested in selling the building. At that time, my wife Serena and I talked about it, and we weren't really interested in it. We had another project going on, the Claflin House. And then another year or so went by, and he stayed in business longer than he had anticipated, and it kind of came up again, and then we got talking again, and we said, well, this would be something interesting, and then we had connection with some people who had talked about opening a business or being in a space downtown, which then brought us back to working out a deal with the Fangs and acquiring the project. Well, we have not acquired it. We will closing on December 23rd. The reason why we're here today is our goal is we're lining up things so that we will start construction on, I always say January 3rd. So that is our goal, to target that and to move along pretty quickly. The space for the addition to the north, it's like 23 feet by 19 feet, so relatively small in comparison to what most construction is like. We hope to have it go quickly. The goal on the front half of the building is to return it, and I think you had the historical image that we found through the archive, the Portage County Historical Archives held at UWSP. That was very helpful, and our goal is to return it to look as similar to that as possible. On the left-hand side, and it's similar to what Book World had, is the staircase off to the left. Is that picture demonstrates that there was a staircase that went up to the second floor. On the second floor, the space has not really been touched since, I'm not sure when, since the Fangs never used it and they closed off the door and didn't go up there. That on the wall, you can see that there was a staircase that came up from that doorway, and we would return that to an entrance up to the second floor, where I'll touch on that in a second. But that's really the storefront. To the north adding a little bit of space onto it for an entrance from the north. That's a really good example, and I'd also like to pass on Traditional Building Magazine, which is a really cool magazine, that there just so happened to be a really good picture of a federal home. I can't remember what the community was, where they added on to the back for north for light getting into the building and being able to make it more usable in a very small courtyard type environment. So I'll pass this around if necessary or if interest. That the use of the building really, as I had said, that when we became sort of aware of this space, we had some merchant friends who were interested in starting businesses. And at this time, I'm not really at liberty to say who they are or any of the specifics because it's not public and we don't necessarily want to have, with building construction materials, this could be 9 months or hopefully it's like 2 months. And we don't necessarily want to be talking about what's going to be and all of a sudden it goes out really far. But it would be several local merchants running small pop-ups type thing. And that the slogan that we use is that Guild Designs, it'll be a place for merchants and artisans. That is a gathering place. So the second floor of the building will be hopefully a community gathering space in some fashion where people would go and have conversation, gather, and celebrate things. And in the first floor, there'd be a few more merchants with access to north and south entrances. I don't know what else that's helpful. It has, because we found it was already on the historical registry, that the architect that worked on this, and we're also working with Lob Restoration out of Appleton, who was very involved and has been very involved with the Opera House in Amherst. That's how I kind of got to know them. They're doing the windows, and the architect out of Wausau has submitted to many historical properties. Actually, the part 2 being the second phase of that, we've passed the phase 1, and the phase 2 was just approved by the state level and has been submitted to the federal yesterday. Well, actually today, this morning, and I had received her notes. The 3 things that she was concerned about meeting were, 1, we do have the intention to remove the paint off the brick if possible, but I've had some conversations with masons and we need to do a sample and see if it's too thick, then it can do too much damage to the brick. So that would possibly be something that I believe we would have to come back here for colors of paint. If we change the colors of the paint, we would come back to historical review. At this point, our goal is to have it go back to whatever the brick is underneath, that it will be back to the brick. And having the bottom half from the historical being mostly glass with cast iron column supports. Her other concern was tuck pointing of the brick so that it gets back to that, as well as then any historical windows, being the 3 windows facing up above, that they're basically wood and that they meet the dimensions, which, it being brick, they will fit perfectly back into there. They're already wood. Fangs had already replaced them, but from our standpoint, just stepping through it again. And the third thing was that there is the original tin ceiling in the space, that the drop ceiling is there, but you can see the tin and it has to be painted any color other than metallic. That is what I know so far.
And I would note too that some of the conditions that were placed on staff's recommendation to approve do touch on some of the comments that the applicant made. Essentially submitting final details as far as the removal of paint from the masonry, if that's the route that they so choose to go, tuck pointing requirements, and then ultimately once the National Park Service submits their findings and conditions to the applicant would in turn relay those requirements to myself to ensure that if there are any additional approvals needed or any modifications, that those modifications meet the commission's guidelines as well.
Just clarification, Bill.
Sure.
The courtyard, is that going to be open air or covered?
Open air.
It is gonna be
That
open.
they're hope to have on the second floor, there'll be a deck, but that deck is just going out and you will not be able to exit from the deck. And that, then it's open courtyard. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe 15, somewhere between 15 and 30 feet of open space. We're working with, and I just had the conversation with Wisconsin Public Service to try and remove and work with the transformer that's on the property and all of, we have all of the easement for Wisconsin Public Service so that we have all the meters for the two adjacent buildings on this property as well as the transformer. So next week we're meeting and I said, how does this work in a more metro area where you don't have one property in the middle of this row that has this lot that we want to turn into a green space? So we'll figure that out somehow to the best of our ability.
Anybody else?
I guess the question I have is, what about parking? Can you use that public park? Do they use the public parking right behind, or is that cobblestone? Whose parking lot is that?
That'd be a municipal parking lot.
It is, okay.
Mr. Christensen?
As noted on page 18 of the packet, I did receive a letter and had a chance to go through things previously. I did actually go on site and take a look at the property and went to both the facade and to the rear of the building. I guess I'm impressed with the amount of time and care that they've taken and to make sure it's done well. I like the fact that the rear facade that they're proposing will complement it, but I think it's stated quite well in the packet that it complements it but doesn't overpower the rest of the building. So I think it's very tastefully done.
Thank you.
And I would definitely be supportive of the project.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, Bill. The windows in the back, the north wall.
Yes.
Those are going to be replaced then?
Now, those windows, you're talking about in that, those three?
Yes.
Those two windows in the door.
Okay, yeah.
In the design, that will be interior. And that wall, again, the paint will be taken off. Our goal would be to leave it brick, but that's like one of those historical preservation questions. Because it's becoming interior, I believe that the goal is to not fake that the wall was there. Take off the wall. The windows would be replaced so that when you're inside the building, those two windows, you would look into between the two spaces. The doorway would be open and usable. You would walk between the old space and the new space using that doorway on the second floor.
Okay.
The original door on the first floor, that little lean-to will be removed, and that would be the entrance between the old space and the new space on the first floor. And there are two windows in there, inside the building, which you would not ever see, but they would be, again, window pane glass would be put back in. So that's at least what the recommendation has been, is that the windows are treated like windows inside.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have a
Yeah, I have a question. It looks like the back of this building is set back quite a bit from the two neighboring buildings. So with the addition, Bill, is it still going to be somewhat set back from both of those neighboring buildings?
Yes, it will be. Lee Ayres is the closest one, and there will still be a setback from that. It's probably a good 10 feet back from the end of Lee Ayres back to where the addition will be. The addition is, I want to say 23, 50. I don't have the plan in front of me. I'd have to add up the square footages, but yes, there will remain a setback.
Carol, did you have another question?
I just had a comment, and that's because the mall has come down, obviously, we can now see the backs of those buildings. And the one that is right next to Goose, I mean, it was just a red brick facade, and they put in new windows, and the transformation of that building is just incredible. So I'm just really glad that you're recognizing the backs of those buildings, and I'm not sure if that park area is gonna be, that little green space there is going to be improved a little bit. If that's, is that city? Does that belong to the city, that little green space that's in there? Just behind Goose, right next to, there's the hotel, there's the parking lot, and then there's green,
There used to be a
quasi-green
gazebo that was
space.
taken down. I'm curious to see, know what's going on there too.
Yeah,
So that was a volunteer-based project when it was constructed. But because the city sold that portion to Wildcard, who's doing the Fox Theater redevelopment, they are moving that whole space from where it is currently to the green space between Goose and the Shopco building. There's a small space there with a bunch of transformers, and they're going to be moving the gazebo and whatever else, so.
Could you explain who you are, please?
Oh, I'm Ryan Karnowski, Director of Community Development.
all right. So just an appreciation in that, you know, people who are buying those buildings are recognizing the backside of it, because it's now very visible. And there's a lot going on. That's great.
Thank you. That was, if I could comment to that's, as Craig Portage County has talked about that, and I'm aware of that concept of how as a community do we start to activate the backs of these buildings. And that was one of the things that, with the two dominantly glass walls, that if you're sitting at Cobblestone, our hope is if you're sitting at Cobblestone in the bar, you can see the building and you will see light coming from it. You'll go like, what's over there? Like, let's go explore this parking lot and beyond.
Thank you.
Mr. Sherrill does have a great track record in the projects
Yes.
he's taken on. So I really have no problems with this at all.
Neither.
Any other, Joe, do you have any other questions?
No, I just would like to also voice strong support for this. It looks very good.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Sherrill.
very much for your support.
Let's see, what do we got? Number 4, update on the facade improvement grant program. That's you, I gather?
Yeah, just wanted to provide a quick update on the grant program since we're nearing the end of 2021, and that there were 3 projects that were previously approved by the commission that has since been receipted the grant dollars over the course of the past year. So first off was the Fall Line Outfitters down by the square. That project entailed replacing the awning fabric and repainting and doing some storefront improvements. That facade grant money was reimbursed, I believe, June or July of this year. Second was the Compass Chiropractic building, the corner of Strong's in Maine. That project included repairing or replacing the second floor windows, some tuck pointing, doing some chimney work on the roof. Those monies were reimbursed this summer as well. And then lastly, the Caravan wine shop. Now this was phase 1 of a multi-phase project. That included replacing the storefront door and windows, installing the jump platform on the second floor, and the facade grant money was reimbursed, I believe, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, as I mentioned, that's only phase 1. Phase 2, it sounds like, will be sometime in 2022, and that'll be brought before the commission too. So, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take it. Otherwise, there's no motion or action needed.
Okay.
Just an update.
Questions? No. Okay, I guess that's it, huh?
That is correct.
Motion to adjourn?
Also move.
Carol? Second, please? Mr. Christensen?
Not required.
Well,
It's the only motion that doesn't require a second is the adjourn.
okay. Well, then that's what, 5? Can't quite
19.
read it, 5:19. We are adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.